There were two differences in the game. The first was Marcus Smart. You went through it there before. Everybody talks about Marcus's defense, and obviously won Defensive Player of the Year, prides himself on being an elite defensive guard. But Marcus Smart has spent years begging people to let him be the point guard of the Boston Celtics. They had Kyrie Irving, they had Kemba Walker, they had Isaiah Thomas. Throughout his career, they've had point guard after point guard after point guard on this team. And the whole time, Marcus Smart, who is known to make his opinion known, has said a lot of times, I am a point guard. Let me be a point guard. And you go to game one, where the Celtics controlled the game for 36 minutes. And in the 12 minutes, they lost the game in the third quarter, where they got outscored 39-14. They had 8 turnovers. Jason Tatum had 6 of them, and 3 of them were 3 of the worst ones I've ever seen anybody have. Marcus Smart tonight, 12 assists, 1 turnover, completely controlled the game on the offensive end. And Jimmy Butler, after getting 18 free throw attempts in game one, got 8 in game 2. He gets 8 free throw attempts every game, even when he shoots the ball well like he did tonight. The Celtics are going to win games in this series. And then the other thing, to your point about Al Horford and Robert Williams start the game together. They start with their traditional starting lineup, which has dominated all season. Really struggled. They go to Grant Williams 5 minutes with 5 minutes to go in the first quarter. They outscore the Heat 57-27 the rest of the first half. Grant never came off the court. And when they had one of those centers out there with 4 perimeter players around them, even with Derek White unavailable tonight, the Celtics, the Heat had absolutely no answers for the Celtics at either end of the court, and they look like the dominant team in the series.
Derek White was away from the team because he was having a birth. I think it was a son. I think I heard it was correct.
Yeah,
his son.
Had a son.
He had a son. So
he'll be back
congrats
for
to
game
him.
3.
But that was, it was like that. The Celtics only had really 7 guys. MacMahon, I have to say, I thought the Celtics would play well tonight. I really felt that they would have a great chance once I found out that both those guys were playing. And Jimmy Butler, if I had told you before the game that Butler would have gone 11 of 19, which he did, and scored 29 points, I would have thought this would have come right down to it. But the Heat just couldn't handle that small lineup. And as Bontemps said, Grant Williams was plus 30 in the first half. Plus 30.
He's having a pretty good little run here. And, the Celtics, I mean, they shot the hell out of the ball tonight, but you know what? They've done that a lot. When they're able to play those lineups and the ball gets hopping around, they've got legitimate shot makers. And I think this is the third time during this postseason they've hit 20+ threes. When a team hits 20+ threes and they are the best defensive team in the league, that's a pretty good recipe for winning. And then, with Horford back, with Smart back, they can get back to being a really switchy defense. They can kind of make Miami play in the mud. And, our ESPN stats and info folks said that Smart ended 37 possessions on Jimmy, and Jimmy only got up 5 shots in those possessions. So, Butler still did some damage. But, having Marcus Smart, whether you want to say he should have been Defensive Player of the Year or not, he's absolutely one of the all-time great defensive perimeter players, obviously of this generation in particular. And it's not going to be a situation where Jimmy can just flat out dominate a game when Marcus Smart's on the other side.
People are going to focus on the way Boston shot in this game. They obviously shot the lights out. I think our guy Stats Williams sent me in stat. I think they were 23 points above their effective field goal percentage in this game. That's going to happen when you hit half your threes. But this game wasn't about Boston's offense. The Heat cannot score on this team when they play small. They just can't. When Jimmy Butler has Marcus Smart on him, like you said, MacMahon, if he's not getting 15, 16, 17 foul shots a game, the Celtics will live with him shooting 18 times and taking 3 threes, right?
Yeah.
And if you go through this Heat roster, with no Kyle Lowry, which is a huge loss for them, they went 10 for 34 from 3, and Gabe Vincent went 4 for 8. He's probably not going to go 4 for 8 on a regular basis. And when the Celtics play small,
been really good these first 2 games. My God,
he's been really good. He's been a really nice find for them. And frankly, when Kyle was playing in the last series, he really struggled. Right? I mean, they played better with Gabe Vincent out there because Kyle's obviously playing with this hamstring injury and was really limited. But the Heat's perimeter players around Jimmy Butler are supporting players, right? They need to get set up for open shots. And when you can guard Jimmy one-on-one and you can stay in Max Strus and PJ Tucker, who left the game with a knee injury, we'll see what his status is going forward. That would obviously be a loss.
That's one thing I will say.
Yeah, but when they have to stay on those guys, the Celtics can stay on those guys and guard Jimmy one-on-one, I just don't think Miami's going to be able to score on these guys going forward.
The other thing that the Celtics did was they realized when they defended Butler in game one that they defended him a little bit too tightly. And since he's not going to take threes anyway, if you back off him a little bit, the math gets better, even if you're willing to let him take an 18 or 20 footer as opposed to letting him get so close to you that he can control and get a foul. But a big factor is I look at this for the Heat. PJ Tucker reportedly is going to get an MRI tomorrow. Sometimes you have MRIs to make sure nothing bad has happened. Sometimes you have MRIs to confirm that bad stuff has happened. I don't know which it is. Maybe by the time this podcast comes out, it'll be more clear.
On the positive side, Marcus Smart had one a couple of days ago, and it was fine.
Yeah. Right. Robert Williams had one last round for maybe it was like 7 or 8 days ago for the Celtics. It's not necessarily a bad sign, but it's disconcerting. And Kyle Lowry doesn't look like he's anywhere close. I mean, I shouldn't say like anywhere close, but I don't think Game 3 is in the offing. Maybe I'm wrong, but based on seeing him work out a little bit and what they're saying he's doing, I don't think he's close. So these are the two big guys they brought in. I guess Oladipo kind of qualifies for that. But Oladipo is really a role player. I mean, PJ Tucker and Kyle Lowry are core players. And part of what you have Kyle Lowry for is to create a half-court offense, like you're talking about, Bontemps, that they're having trouble creating.
Listen, so you're talking about PJ Tucker's MRI. What about Bam Adebayo's MIA?
Yeah,
like this. You gave him an All NBA vote, and I mean,
I did.
He's and I'm not saying that.
How dare you bring it up tonight? How dare you?
I'm not saying, and he's that type of impact player. He was all during the regular season, and we've seen him be that type of impact player in the playoffs. We have not seen it in these playoffs, though, and you better see it in this series.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN Plus right now.